Welcome back to the Stache Cave, everybody. I'm here with a good friend, James, from In Search of Physical Media. Now, we decided to work on this little project because we had contacted each other a little while ago. We saw that we both are big collectors. He, I think, is a bigger collector than I am. Well, tell us about your channel.
So, In Search of Physical Media, I basically started with the whole idea of there's so much content out there to collect that a lot of people just don't know about. So I collect things from all over the world, and there's a lot of things that in America I thought I couldn't either get or watch, and I wanted people to know about, hey, there's so many other great titles that were American TV shows or American movies, but they're not being released in America because of digital, basically causing that to be slowed down to where not as many physical is released. So that's why I started the channel, is to get people to know that there's so many other content, so much other content out there to collect that, I mean, as you can probably see, there's dozens of videos on my channel already about it, but there's so many titles out there that are just wonderful TV shows and movies that I wanted other people to know about.
Awesome. And okay, so I have a whole bunch of questions I have, and this is usually for just anybody who's a collector, because I know I've gone through some of these things. We all have that certain thing about collecting, but do you know how many movies you have, or did you lose count?
So that's an interesting question. I've been asked it before, and I had some subscribers on my channel ask about it. It's a hard one for me. I used to keep track of it, and I had done, I think it was like maybe 6 years ago, I'd gone through and made a list and then added them all up to figure out how many individual, and I would count like a TV set. So like if I got like a big complete series TV set, I would count that as one title, even though it would technically be like 10 seasons.
Right.
At that time, I had over 7,000 individual titles. Well, since then, my collection has grown to probably, I would guess it's over at least 2.5 times that size now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that's between DVD and Blu-ray.
So I don't have as many DVDs anymore. I used to.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what I found is a lot of these sets, and that's where I've been trying to go through them one by one and do reviews on them on my channel on In Search of Physical Media, is because there's a lot of these DVD complete series sets that are coming out released in other countries, remastered on Blu-ray at full 1080p. So I've been slowly changing out my DVD titles for the Blu-ray versions because obviously, I mean, you know this from collecting, right. The Blu-rays are 100 times better than what you're going to have on a DVD.
Oh, yeah. And I used to have huge shelves of that used to hit the wall or the ceiling of DVDs, and they were just DVD. They weren't even the Blu-rays. It was just the DVDs. I think I might have sold off already maybe half of them, which is kind of sad because now it's, it doesn't look as impressive, but there's a lot more Blu-ray for sure. And that's were you late? So when I think, do you remember your first movie purchase?
Ooh. Okay, so it might not have been my first one, but because I'm old school, because I'm technically older than most people probably think I am, it would have been back when VHSs were obviously big, back in the early 80s. And I can't name off the first one, but I think it was the computer that wore tennis shoes. I
don't think I've ever heard of that.
Okay, well, it's a Disney movie with Kurt Russell in it.
Oh, yes.
And
he's a kid, right? He's a
Kurt Russell did like 6 or 7 Disney movies because he did. Walt Disney, when he was live, was a big fan of Kurt Russell, and I mean, Kurt Russell was a great actor in those movies. And even now, I actually have those remastered on Blu-ray that most people don't know about, which one day I will go and do a review on my channel about. But Kurt Russell himself had done those, and I think that was one of the first VHSs that my mom allowed me to pick out and buy. And that would have been way back at the beginning of the 80s, somewhere in there. So that was a long time ago.
Do you remember what what movie got you into what your earliest movie memory? Not so much buying it, but just something that made you fall in love with cinema in general.
Yeah, yeah. So I have a really, really good memory, which is, and I've talked about this before on my channel, is that movies tied each one of us with memories. I mean,
Mm,
you have memories for movies that maybe the movie's not that great of a movie to other people, but you love it because of a memory that's personal to you, that's tied to that movie somehow. And that's where I find cinema such a unique thing, is because there's some movies that are my favorite movies of all time that probably people have never even heard of,
mhm.
but they have a memory because of something that happened in my life at that time, whether I was with somebody that I went to see that movie with. So the story, not meaning to digress here, and you probably know this because you know me pretty well by now, but those of you that are watching this that don't know me, I do have a problem with sometimes going on into stories too much, so I'll try to limit myself
Oh
here
no,
to the
this
live.
is it's a free reign on it's a podcast. We're just whatever goes, man. Just let it go.
So I'm a big Star Trek fan, obviously Gene Roddenberry. Those of
Mm,
you that have watched the channel, I mean, you know this from Stache House here that I'm a big Gene Roddenberry fan. But I went to see Star Trek movies all growing up with my father, and he took me. It was one of the, I think it was the only movies my dad actually took me to growing up until we got way older. It was, he would come home from work and he would work multiple jobs. My dad worked really hard growing up, so he wasn't around very much. He would work a job in the morning, sometimes a job at night, sometimes, I mean, during the holidays, he worked 3 jobs a lot of the time. So he was always working. But I remember he would take time out and he would just take me, my sisters, I had 2 sisters, and it was something he did just for me. And it's a memory that I always, whenever Star Trek comes up, it comes to mind. He took me to all the Star Trek movies with James T. Kirk in them that would have had William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. And to me, those Star Trek films have a special place in my heart, as well as like Next Generation, but those ones specifically because those were the early ones. And I remember there was one specifically that him and I absolutely loved. He actually took it. It was one of the few movies he took me to see twice. And he never took me to any other movie twice. And we went to see this twice. And it was called Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country.
oh.
And that was, and it's still to this day, a lot of people hate that movie, but I love it because it was a memory of my dad, enjoyed it so much, and we had such a good time, and we talked about it, that he took me to see it twice. And so that's, I think, where partially my love for Star Trek and Gene Roddenberry came from, was my dad and his love of it, because it was something we had in common that my dad and I we didn't spend a whole lot of time together growing up. And
Mhm.
anybody that's had something like that where their parent had to work really hard to provide for their family, it was a good thing and I appreciate it. But I don't have as many memories of doing as much stuff as maybe people that had a dad that worked from home did. So that's kind of where that came from. So that was my memory of when I fell in love with cinema and the
Mm.
memories behind it. And that's when I started attaching in a weird way. And maybe some of you do this, some of you don't. But I attach time periods in my life to certain movies. So things that happened that were a big deal or things like that. And I'll throw one more story out there. There's a movie that I absolutely love, and I love it for a weird reason. It was a movie that my wife and I were dating and went to see. And I remember she had never seen it. She didn't want to see it. And I had just met her and we were dating. It was one of the first movies I went to see. I got her to go see it, and she laughed so hard and I laughed so hard. And that was when I decided that movie was when I was going to ask her to marry me. So that movie is tied to that. So I love that movie because I think it's really funny and a great movie. But it's kind of one of those things, you have a memory tied to that
Right.
movie that's separate. And that's what you talk about sometimes, is that you have certain things that some people would say, hey, I hated that movie, but you have a memory of why you loved it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so many movies like that that are not the greatest movie, but it's so tied up in our growth, and or it just came out at a time period where something happened maybe in your life that that movie always takes you back, which is what I love about cinema, is that the whole nostalgia of captured on celluloid, like it's go if I want to go back to my childhood, I'll watch Home Alone or The Mighty Ducks or The Sandlot, especially The Sandlot because I was a big baseball player
Yep.
growing up. So that was one of the movies I used to love watching. Um, so is there a favorite set that you have?
That one's a hard question. And if I asked you that question, it's a hard one for you too.
Yeah, no,
Because, like, you think about it, you have so many different things you like for different reasons. Um, and TV is different than movies. Yes, I like them all for a different reason. So we'll come back to that one. Give me a little bit.
That's fine.
Because that one's unique.
You gotta really think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. If I ask you that, what's your favorite set?
See, so for me right now, because if you were to ask me in a year, it'll be different. Right now, I think my favorite set, which I don't even love these films, but the set itself is so nice, is the new Friday the 13th box set from Scream Factory. I don't even like horror that much, but the set is so nice that you know it's really nice. But I think one of the ones that stand out a lot to me is, and I still have it because it's on DVD. Even though I own the Blu-ray, but because the set was so nice, I didn't want to get rid of my DVD set, which was it's a tin can gas canister of Reservoir Dogs. I don't know if you ever saw that.
Yeah,
it's so unique. I mean, it was just ingenious in its design because in the movie, you know, the gas canister has a thing,
canister.
but it's such a cool set that I wouldn't get rid of it even if I have a 4K version or a whatever version of it. That set's gonna stay in my collection forever, probably.
Yeah,
that one.
And that's something that you were asking about DVDs. That's something that's hard for me sometimes, is because I like some of the DVD sets the way they look, and the Blu-ray sets, they're smaller, which helps save space. Like all you can see behind. I mean, I run out of space. This whole room's lined, walls all the way around. But sometimes I'll save just like that a DVD set just because it's a memory like that. And the TV shows, I have lots of those on DVD. Not as many movies on DVD because of that, because a lot of the movies have been remastered and released worldwide. And that's where, to give you an idea of something that I would probably say would be one of my favorite sets of all time, I know you can't see this over there, but I do love, there's a Columbo set that I did a review on my channel of.
I saw it.
That set, so Columbo's a very unique show, and I love the show, but that set was very hard for me to get originally. I got it years ago. When it first came out, I think I got it 4 years ago or 5 years ago when it first came out. And I never at that time bought something from Japan. It was super hard to get a hold of. I had to create a whole account. I had to have the website translated because it doesn't translate right. Now they have it changed where you can automatically have it done. But back then it didn't. I had to copy the numerals from the Japanese language and put it into Google Translate and try to figure out what I was doing. It was a mess. But
wow.
And then I had to do yen and all of that. It was a complete mess. So I did that, and it was probably longer than that. Maybe it was 8 years ago. I don't know. It was when it first came out. And when I got that set, I didn't realize how much I was spending. And I told my wife at the time, I said, oh, I think the yen and how it translates out with shipping, I think it's going to come out to I think I told her it was $150 at the time.
Oh, and then even that's a lot of money. Oh, man. Oh,
when it showed up on our credit card with the transfer fee from yen to US dollars and all that, I think it was almost $1,000.
Oh, my God. Is that the most you've ever spent on a movie or a set?
Okay, so that's the most I've ever spent on a single set, but I do have sets that are worth more than that now because they've been out of print for years and years. Yeah, and that's a weird thing I found out. I had somebody on my channel point out from an earlier video a year ago that I had a Blu-ray in the background that they said you should look that up. And I ended up looking it up. And at the time, it was worth $1,200.
What?
And it was just
Do you remember
movie.
What it was?
So if I remember correctly, I think it's down over there on that bottom corner. It was either Flight of the Navigator, which was completely remastered Blu-ray. And then there was another one they had mentioned.
I love that movie.
The title of it. Oh, Enemy Mine was another big one.
Oh, it's another one of my favorite ones. I love both of those movies.
Yeah, Enemy Mine was released by Twilight Time briefly for a while. Mm-hmm. And then it was they said that only 100 copies existed. And then people didn't sell them and they were gone. And then another company released Enemy Mine briefly for a little bit of time and then stopped. And I got one of the original releases that was numbered. And anyhow, they said now I can't even find it on eBay and things.
That's insane. That's insane. So one time I found out that Well, I mean, I think the price went down on it already because there's been re-released, but
Yep.
Apocalypto was
Yep.
high up there. Even a used copy was close to $100.
Yep.
And I still have that original because I almost sold that. I was like, oh, I actually like that movie, but I almost sold it, so thank God I didn't. But
And
now
see,
it's
the hard
been
thing is
re-released.
as a collector, would you want to sell it? Because sometimes it's fun knowing you have something that no one
Yeah.
else has. I know that sounds bad. I'm not trying to be selfish, but it's
No,
kind
you're
of
right.
fun.
You're right. I actually have this old DVD of okay, growing up, Scarface.
Yep.
I don't know why a lot of us were super obsessed with that movie, especially in high school. And I remember one of my friends had it on DVD, and I wanted to get it on DVD, but it wasn't available. Um, it was like the collector's edition, so it was the very first release. It wasn't even made for anamorphic TVs
It was when
yet.
they're full screen.
Well, no,
Yeah, they say full.
it was widescreen, but it was full screen. I guess you could say it's a square, and the big black bars were so big. This is all you see, like on a big
Oh boy.
screen. This is what you saw of the movie. That's it. Well, anyway, that set alone, that DVD, I don't even know how much it is anymore. It's so hard to find because eventually they re-released it
Yeah.
on different formats and different box sets, and I have some of those too. But that one I've never wanted to get rid of because I love that set.
Yeah.
But I remember passing up a couple of sets that I wish I didn't. I remember seeing them. I'm like, I kind of want that, and I was like, okay, whatever. Maybe I'll get it next time. Next time came, and then I never found it again.
Yep. And then it was gone.
Yeah, it was gone, and now it's a lot, and there's a lot of those. Do you have any like regrets not getting?
Yeah, I've run into that in the past. Like you'll go to we talk about Walmart and Best Buy, that you'll go to
Mm,
Walmart and Best Buy now and there's not as much there. But
yeah.
Walmart was notorious for doing this, where they would put a set out, and that set they maybe would only have one copy of,
Mm,
and nobody would buy it for a while. And then all of a sudden you'd come in one day to Walmart and the price tag would be really cheap. Like a big box set that you go online, you'd be like, holy cow, this is like $200 everywhere. Walmart would be selling for like 20 or $30.
right? Yeah.
But at the time, I'd be like, oh, I'm just going to wait and look it up later when I get home on my computer, because obviously we didn't have cell phones. So I'm like, I'll look it up later, this DVD set. And then you go home and you find out, holy cow, it's going to cost like $200. You rush back to Walmart and it's
It's
gone.
gone. It happened to me at Walmart also. They had the Universal Monsters set on DVD with
Yep.
the heads. Do you remember those?
Yep. I remember seeing it.
Oh man, I wish I got it because I was like, oh, that looks cool. I'll pick it up later. Never got it. I never got it, and I'm really sad.
Well, before we keep going, I do want to plug the channel a little bit,
Oh
though. I
yes,
kind
yes,
of forgot to
please.
plug the channel here. So if you're watching this video, please go ahead and subscribe. We will have down below, both of us, both the Facebook account and Instagram, which you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram, which is In Search of Physical Media. And then also my YouTube channel, which is In Search of Physical Media. And if you can subscribe, that's great. I appreciate all the likes and subscribes, but those are down there, both the In Search of Physical Media for Instagram, Facebook, and then obviously the YouTube. And then obviously you're on Stache House here.
Of
Subscribe to
course.
Stache05.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We always appreciate the subscribers and always look forward to hearing from you guys. So thank you, and please subscribe to both our channels. And go ahead, ask your next question.
Oh, okay. So for me, I know everyone does it different. Especially as a collector, I know friends that have their collections split up in sections, like all the Criterion movies are in one section, all the Shout Factory, all the um a lot of people do it alphabetical. I can't do it alphabetical. I think I would
Neither can
be
I.
so annoyed if I did alphabetical order. So I have mine by genre. So I started off with like my favorite genre, and I'll put all my movies like I feel like are the more important ones in my head for that genre, and then it bleeds into like the next genre, and they all kind of bleed in together, which is really, except from when it goes from horror to kids films. It like I don't know how it got there, but it
Horror to kids films. What a
yeah, I don't know.
combination.
Oh no, it went horror to comedy, and then to kids films. But yeah, it has like a theme kind of like there's a I can't do the alphabetical order. I think I'd go crazy doing that. I'd
Yeah,
go
I
crazy.
agree. Alphabetical's not for me. I tried that; it didn't work either. So my like way that I organize things, my wife can't stand. So to kind of answer that question, my wife, I've been married now for almost 15 years. So married a long time. I have 3 kids, 3 boys actually.
Oh wow.
And she's always tried to get me to organize things the way that she thinks they should be organized. And I said to her, I said, when I come in, I like to organize it by like each group how I feel it should be organized. And she says that's no organization at all. So I'll kind of explain. So like I put all my John Wayne movies together.
Mm-hmm.
So like if there's a certain actor that I love and I love all their films, I put them all together. Even though it might be a Criterion, it might be something released by Paramount Studios or Olive Films. It doesn't matter. I put those all together. And so it drives her nuts because she's like, how do you know? I says, well, some are done by actor, some are done by genre. So like I'll do like sci-fi and here's a bunch of sci-fi films.
Yeah.
But then she'll be like, but you have a sci-fi film over here. And so I don't know. I mean, I guess I do it by in my mind how I want it, and it doesn't correlate to how somebody else thinks I should organize it.
Right. No, and it makes sense to you, right? Like you know exactly where it's at. Like I remember my nephew asked me because I have like my shelves up. He's like, "Hey, where's this one movie?" And in my head, I was like, "It should be right next to this other movie and this other in between those two. If it's not there, then it's missing, and I don't want to know why." But it's like, "Oh yeah, it's right here," and because I just know where they would have been. You know what I mean? So to me, it makes sense. Not so much for everybody else.
Yeah, and that's kind of like Disney movies. Because I have kids, obviously, I put all the Disney movies together.
Yeah.
So it makes it easy for them to find, hey, here's the collection. But it irks me sometimes because some of the Disney movies I want to put in another category. Like, so Black Hole, I like is a Disney sci-fi film. And I feel like that should be in my sci-fi section, but then at the same time, it's a Disney movie. So in my mind, you do that like fight, like what section do you put it in? Yeah.
I have the same problem with like I have Tron in my sci-fi section, but I have all my Disney movies all together over here, like all the Pixar's together, and
I do that too. Pixar all together.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of funny.
Wonderful movie. So it's up there probably in my top 10 movies of all time. I grew up watching Tron. I went to see it in theaters when it came out. And so Tron, the original Tron I love with Bruce Boxleitner and things like that. And then I also loved the new Tron.
The Legacy.
It's not new anymore. Yeah, but I guess it's not new anymore.
Not new anymore.
It came out like 15 years ago, right?
Yeah, it came out at least 10 years ago for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But that soundtrack is great. I don't know. Did you?
Oh, Daft Punk?
Yes.
Oh, dude, I still listen to it. I'm so old school. Like, if anybody watches my channel and gets some of the things, so I'm a child of the 80s. If any of you know that. I did love the 90s as well, but the 80s, I love the 80s, and then 90s come second. There's a lot in both those eras that I absolutely love. But 80s music, and if you listen to my channel, the music that's in the background a lot of the times, it's synthwave or yeah, 80s electronic music, and that's my jam. I listen to that in the car. I play synthwave and electronic music in my car.
Awesome. That's me too. I listen. I even have a playlist on my phone where it's all either scores, like movie scores, and some that are synthwave, and I like all of the Daft Punk, Tron Legacy, and I don't know. Did you ever watch Oblivion?
Yes, I liked Oblivion.
The soundtrack to that M83.
M83.
It sounded a lot like Tron, or Tron and Inception together, kind of mixed. It was. I loved it.
Okay, a modern TV show that does a great job of incorporating synthwave into it. I'd probably say it might be my most favorite modern TV show that exists. And I'm not as much a fan of a lot of modern TV.
I have an idea of what you're going to say.
Okay, you guess and see if you get it right.
Mr. Robot?
No.
No.
No. Stranger Things.
Oh, duh.
Oh,
How did I
Stranger
say? Yes.
Things.
No.
Okay,
Yes, you're right.
one of my favorite modern TV shows is Stranger Things. Like,
Yeah.
and okay, before all of you burn me at the stake for this, I did not watch it digital. I bought this
The
on
targets.
4K Blu-ray from Target Special
Yes.
Sets, and
Oh,
they have not
love.
released season 3.
I
What
know.
is going on?
And I have the Blu-ray sets, the two, but I wish I kind of got the 4K ones because they're. But I liked the way the Blu-ray sets looked more than the 4K ones.
Okay, so I'll share something with you because I've gone through the bit rates on both of those. Okay, if you own the first Blu-ray set of Stranger Things, you don't need to upgrade that one to the 4K one. Because that one, the bit rate and the color transfer on the Blu-ray is actually almost exactly the same as the 4K of the first season of Stranger Things from Target.
Oh wow!
Now, the second season is a completely different subject. The second season, they actually made the 4K disc. It's about 20% higher bit rate, color clarity. So there's a drastic upgrade on the second 4K. So what I did is I kept my first season Blu-ray, but then on the second season, I got the 4K edition of Stranger
I'm
Things.
trying to think, what does the 4K one look like? Because the one I
I'll show you. It's right
have,
here. Hold on.
awesome. Because I'll tell you if I got which one I got. Okay, no, wait, did I get that one? No, I did get that one.
This is the VHS case for season 2 of it. And I know you can't see maybe 4K Ultra HD.
Okay.
This is the 4K version of it.
Oh, man, did I get that one? Because I know it looks so similar, and it's because like my movies are in the other room, and it'd be But
well, you
yeah,
can check it later. But
yeah,
I don't know what's gone on. I don't know if they didn't sell enough or what happened.
yeah.
Because Target should have released that last year. They never did.
Did you see how much they go for now? They're really cheap because I guess
like
they
$10.
do have. Yeah, they have like a really like a big surplus, I guess. Same thing. Okay, so what's your biggest pet peeve of collecting? Because for me, it's thinking something's an exclusive, and this happened with The Force Awakens. I don't know if you remember, because I'm really big on steelbooks, but
Okay.
when that steelbook came out for Force Awakens, I was like, I need to get there because it's gonna run out. And for like almost a year, there were stacks and stacks and stacks of that steelbook, and I'm like, wow, okay, like,
And that's where I had a hard time. I used to collect steelbooks exclusively. If it was a steelbook, that's what I bought. And I've kind of gotten away from that more or less so lately. And here's why. One, budget-wise. Because of how much I collect, I have to decide, is it worth spending, let's say, $20 or $30 more for a steelbook when I could buy maybe one or two other Blu-rays as well? And that's where I've been fighting with it lately. I used to always get the steelbooks, and I don't as much now. And that's mostly because if I can find a steelbook on sale, I'll get it. But a lot of the times when the steelbooks first come out, like, okay, well, let's talk Back to the Future. We both are excited about that.
yeah.
Now, did you pick that up on Tuesday or?
No, I haven't yet, and I'm sure it's probably sold. The one I want to get, the steelbooks, are probably sold out already.
So I already checked on that. That was what I was going to share is, so Best Buy has the exclusive steelbooks, the 3 steelbook 4K pack. They're not sold out, but their price is about $70.
Yeah, I
now,
know.
That's about $30 more than it is for it not in steelbook on 4K. My understanding is, and this is a little tidbit for everybody that's watching this video, I do know they're going to have it on their Black Friday sale. So
the steelbooks or the
no.
Really?
So they did it last year with a steelbook set they released and a special set they did of a 4K release. Now they have, I think they have Rambo coming out in steelbook 4K, and then obviously they just had this one. Whatever, and it's something I've learned over the years. I've been collecting since, like I said, 80s. But basically, every year, if a movie's released before November 1st, those movies are going to be included on Black Friday sales on either Amazon, Target, Best Buy, Walmart. And if they're exclusives that are released before November 1st, then it's like 95% sure it's going to be in their Black Friday sale. It might only be for an hour or two, but it'll be in there.
Wow. Always learning something new. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because I do remember seeing new releases, fairly new releases on Black Friday. I was like, I just picked that up for like
I know.
$30, and now it's 15 or less. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I wait. So like on those, if I'm gonna get I did pre-order Back to the Future. Mine hasn't shipped yet. So that one I did pre-order, but I know that it's going to be on sale. So I'm debating on stopping that pre-order and getting it when it comes out on the sale for that. But I did just yesterday got a huge stack of my pre-orders in that we had done that top 15 video.
Mm-hmm.
I did get a bunch of those in, and I did end up getting the Steelbook of Picard, the complete series on Steelbook.
Yeah.
And I posted on my Instagram that had come in because some people were asking what that looked like. And that one wasn't a bad deal. Like, I don't mind if they charge for a Steelbook like $5.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll pay the extra $5 to get a Steelbook. But when they do these, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, but these ridiculous, like $30 more for a Steelbook and things.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, to me, it's not worth it. I mean, when you got a family, kids, and a wife, and all that, I mean, $30 is heck another one or two other Blu-rays.
Right, exactly. And for me, I mean, I've gotten pickier with picking up movies. And recently, because I was gonna get the movie The Town.
Yep.
That Steelbook when that came out, but I was like, no, I think I'll just wait, or I just won't get it. And recently, I think about a week ago or two, it was on sale for like $15. The Steelbook 4K. So
did you get it?
Yeah, actually it's right here. Yeah, so I ended up getting it.
Was it at Best Buy?
Yeah, Best Buy had it.
I
bought it online.
I've been looking for that one. I didn't see it go on sale because that's one of the 4Ks I haven't bought yet. And I did like the movie.
Yeah.
I just haven't watched it in such a long time. I like Ben Affleck's modern movies. Like I thought he was great as Batman personally. Like,
oh, me too. I love it.
Oh, I loved him. Like it's like that, like Dark Knight. I mean, like I'm a skinny dude and I'm a tall and skinny dude. So like I don't put on muscle, especially after the car accident. Like my muscles on this side of my body have gotten really small because I don't use them much. So, but I used to work out all the time, and I loved just big muscular. Like I thought he was so. Oh,
super jacked. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. On the subject, now we're talking about that just for a second. I know we're going to digress here, but just talk about a movie. You know the new Snyder cut that they're doing?
Yes.
So they just started filming with Ben Affleck new scenes for the movie. And they brought Jared Leto back in to do the Joker. So they're going to, it's actually they spent $30 million on these reshoots. So that's a big deal.
That's a big, that's some movies some movies' whole productions right there.
I know. Dude, I'm a huge, I mean, everybody knows that. I'm a huge Superman fan. That's where the idea of I love Superman. That's why that Superman, the extended cut, which if you have not seen yet, I absolutely love.
1978.
78.
Oh, 78. Yes.
78, I think. Yeah.
Marlon Brando. Oh, man.
Yeah.
But you know the whole behind the scenes between that movie and Marlon Brando not learning his lines and using cue cards. I mean, I love Marlon Brando, but, man, he got really lazy after a while.
Okay, so you know how we talked about The Godfather before, okay?
Yeah.
And I try not to offend people on the channel because the thing of it is I don't want people to think that I watch horrible movies or things like that. And The Godfather is a weird thing because so how I watched The Godfather was that basically I liked Marlon Brando and Superman. I thought he did a good job. When I think of Superman's dad from Krypton, I always think of Marlon Brando. It's even the modern movies, I felt like they should have just used Marlon Brando, digitally composed him. Russell Crowe did a good job. Russell Crowe did a good job as his dad, don't get me wrong. But there is something about Marlon Brando. But because I watched that when I got older, I think I was in college. I never saw The Godfather in theaters. I had gotten it on VHS or something, maybe DVD, and borrowed it from somebody. And that's when I watched it. But it was because of him in Superman that made me want to watch The Godfather, the first one, and that's then when I kind of liked the whole. I don't know. It's a weird thing to explain to people, but it's not a crime drama. It's
a family drama.
yeah. And it's not a family movie. I don't really want to offend people, and people say, "Oh, I'm going to watch this with my family." Don't watch it with your family. It's not a family movie.
No.
And it's if it would be made today, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but in my opinion, if that movie was made today, it would be so violent I wouldn't even want to watch it. I guarantee you it would be so disgusting and violent.
They would probably overdo it on really depending on who's directing, I think. But what the studio would want is something to get seats in the theater. I
Yep.
mean, butts in the theater. And movies back then weren't about that. Like it was about making a great story.
Exactly.
Now it's more like let's get all these bombastic films and release them, and which is fine, but all the great stories are mostly independent films that sometimes go straight to streaming now, that they don't even get released anymore, which is really sad. I don't like that
Yeah.
aspect
Well,
of
my
it.
thing is they throw too much explicit stuff in them now. Like, and a lot of the times in movies, and this is part of why I think I'm so attached to older movies, why I collect them and love them. They put in so much explicit stuff now just to shock people, but
Hmm.
it doesn't need to be there, nor does it help the story. I mean, like we're talking about The Godfather here. I mean, like they said now, if that movie were released right now, it probably would have been rated like PG-13. Compared to what is released
Perhaps.
now, they said the content, and because it wasn't that graphic and that violent at that time, that it would be a PG-13 movie compared to what's coming out now. And that's where it's kind of one of those things it's hard to explain to people because people say, "Oh, you like that," and there's some certain things that I like of, and I don't. It's not that I agree with everything in a movie. I mean, there's things that every one of us like or dislike in a movie. Departed. I liked The Departed.
Hmm.
I thought it was a well-written, just a well-acted movie. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio did a great job in it. I really liked it. And people said, "Oh, I hated that movie," or "I loved it." But there's another one that I really liked of DiCaprio's, which everybody gave me a hard time because they said, "Oh, he's only famous because of Titanic." Well, I think he's a good actor.
Yeah.
And did you ever see Blood Diamond?
Yeah, that's a great film.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, that's a great film. I love. No, see, so I mean, it may look like these are some of my favorite films, right? They're mostly gangster and crime drama, but I love every aspect of film. I mean, I love the original Blade Runner. I
Yep.
love I love one of my favorite films from like the 1920s is actually Dr. Caligari and The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is a silent film.
Okay.
I love Charlie Chaplin. I mean, there's so many aspects to film that one can love, not just one thing. And so, yeah, you're right. And there's, and I mean, I don't really understand it, but there's a lot of people who love gory and horror, and I'm not really big on that. It's
Ugh.
it's okay sometimes, but it's not for me. But yeah, I mean, there's so many things about film in general that because it's a big project. It's not just the performance. It's not just the acting. It's the atmosphere. It's the music. There's so many aspects to different movies. So Blood Diamond, I thought was so underrated because people kind of glossed over that movie. Like, oh, okay, no, but it's such a great film. I mean,
Yep.
that's a great movie. I love that movie.
Well, so I'll ask you a question here. What would you say of all your films is the most watched film you own? And what I mean by that is
Oh yeah.
it has to be a film you've seen more than 5 times. And when you want a film to watch when you're sick, like, so I
Hmm.
have one in mind, but I'm asking you first. Um, like when you're sick or you're just wanting something you
You
don't really have to
know
think about, but you've watched it dozens of times. What's
what?
your film that you're dozens of times?
Man, I gotta think about that. To be honest, I think I like whenever I'm sick, I like to kind of go back to a simpler time when I was a kid. So I'll
Okay.
watch like a kids movie, and usually if it's not Christmas, but I still love watching Home Alone. Um, I love
You're getting the
watching.
4K, right? That I talked
Of
about in my copy
course,
machine.
yes. Oh, dude,
Good.
I didn't put that in our list because I thought that movie had already come out on 4K for some
No,
reason.
no,
But
it's
no,
just released.
yeah.
And
So,
I pre-ordered mine when it first came out. It still has not shipped because
oh,
Disney, remember they bought 20th Century Fox?
mhm.
After they released that, they said that they were basically cutting back on releasing any more physical content.
Yeah, only like back catalog that are like worth
Well,
to
even
them
then,
anyway.
they've rescinded that now. As of 2 days ago, their article stated that they're not thinking of releasing any anymore, that they're going to charge everybody like they did with like the Mulan release
Mulan,
digitally,
yeah.
$35 every time you watch it on Disney Plus.
No.
And that's why I can't stand digital. But
Yeah.
so anyhow, they've limited the amount of like copies being printed of that. So
Mhm.
like Target, I pre-ordered it at Target a long time ago, and then it got canceled. So I had to pre-order it on Amazon, and it's been sitting there for, what was it? Almost like a month and a half ago it came out, and it still has not shipped.
Wow. No, see
Yeah.
that's sad because I love movies like that. That's a movie I love watching. So, I mean, I watch that every that is the one. If there's not a other Christmas movie, that is the one I watch
Yep.
every single year. I know you
Yep.
said that on your channel too, but it's true for me as well. That's the one movie I'll have to watch. But so for the one that I love to watch a lot, and I probably watch it maybe at least once a year, is The Sandlot. That one
Yeah.
really takes me back big time. The music, the era. I love the '60s, so the era of the where the film takes place, baseball, the Goonies, that or the Goonies. I'm not sure which one, but um, the Goonies is another one. I think it's that the kids going off on an adventure
Yep.
and everything is larger than life for them, and that's something that I miss as a kid because I used to do the same things. Like I used to ride my bike around. We used to like explore different parts of the city or of our area and play, baseball. And it's that's the one movie that really takes me back. That's my feel good movie of all time.
Yeah. Well, I just got the Goonies actually yesterday. It showed up. I
The
pre-ordered that one, and it took a
4K.
long time for me to get that too. But I actually just showed up yesterday. I think I
Yeah,
posted it on my Instagram too.
I recently just bought that as well. The 4K.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, but you
it's
got the steel book. I didn't get the
yeah.
steel book. It was too
Well,
expensive.
it was, but this one was I think I might have had some reward zone points or a
Okay.
gift card thing, so I didn't spend too much money on that. But
I got mine on
yes.
Amazon because they had it last week. They had it for the buy two get one free
Mhm.
4Ks. So you bought two, you got one free. So I ended up being a dirt cheap deal. I think I spent per 4K on Amazon. I think I spent $10 per 4K.
Oh wow. That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So on the subject of my favorite when I'm sick,
Oh
before we
yeah,
forget
yeah.
that one, I did want to throw this in. Mine's a weird one. It's Saving Private Ryan.
Really? Oh man.
Yep.
That's an amazing film, but I can't imagine watching that too many times. I mean,
I
it's
have seen that movie probably more than 100 times.
what?
So it's kind of a twisted thing, and maybe it's not twisted, but all of my family has served in the military.
Mm,
Both my grandpas served in World War II. The grandpas before that, World War I. Anyhow, so it's always been one of those things that it's all kind of been connected, my family, to those histories and things like that. So I've always had a special place in my heart for like World War II shows and
right.
movies and things like that. So I don't know. It just kind of like personally, that movie I've always felt like connected to. So my wife, when she met me, I remember I was sick first time after we were married, and she was like, "What do you want me to get you to watch?" And then at that time, I think it was DVD still. I don't know if,
Hmm.
well, no, maybe it was Blu-rays, because Blu-rays came out 20 years ago, right?
2006.
Okay.
I don't know why I know that, but I do. It was
Okay.
2006 when that came out. When Blu-rays came out.
Okay. So anyhow, she got me whatever it was. We went and put it on, and she was like, "Why do you want Saving Private Ryan?" And I was like, "It's just one of those things." And she had never seen it at that time. She watched it. And she ended
Oh.
up liking it. And so now, whenever I get sick, she goes and gets Saving Private Ryan. Now I have it on 4K. So,
Hmm.
and obviously, I don't watch it with the kids in case any of you are wanting to get
Oh,
mad.
that
It's not a
that
kids movie.
that movie is so good, but that opening scene when they're landing on Normandy, it's
Yeah.
so intense. I mean, you're not. I don't know. That was beautifully shot. Only a masterful filmmaker like Steven Spielberg can pull something like that off.
See, I love, and don't get mad at me for this, but I love old Steven Spielberg. I do
Mm.
not like most of his modern
You
movies he's
know,
done.
I haven't really liked anything he's done after Saving Private Ryan.
That's what I feel like. I mean, I can't name one of them that I feel like was.
The only one that was okay for me was the one with Leonardo DiCaprio, Catch Me If You Can. I thought that was pretty
Yeah,
good. But other
yeah, it
than
wasn't
that,
bad.
The Terminal I didn't like.
Terminal was okay,
Uh
but the Terminal to me was as good as Catch Me If You Can. They were on the same level.
mm,
It wasn't stupendous,
right.
but it was enjoyable.
No, yeah.
So here's an odd thing, and this is something in my mind that, okay, you know who J.J. Abrams is,
Of
right?
course, yeah. Super 8.
Okay,
That was a
so right
love
about the
story.
time when he did, Saving Private Ryan, Steven Spielberg, then it seemed like J.J. Abrams was coming up to make movies, and J.J. Abrams did a movie that a lot of people have forgotten about, which I think would be great on 4K, called Super 8.
Yeah, I love Super 8. That was a
Super 8,
throwback.
yes, reminds me so much of like the Goonies and like
Mhm.
so many things that other directors and Steven Spielberg was a producer on or directed. And I thought that J.J. Abrams was kind of becoming Steven Spielberg. And I don't
Right.
want to offend anybody with that, but that's kind of just how I kind of felt like it was kind of going that route. And then J.J. Abrams really didn't do any more like that. That was it. He did the Mission Impossible, but
Uh,
he never went back to that type of style of filmmaking.
right. I gotta ask you a question because I know you love Star Trek, but
Yep.
how do you feel about? Because I was never big on Star Trek. I didn't grow up with it. I've seen it on TV, but I never watched it. How do you feel about the J.J. Abrams films?
On Star Wars or the Star
Star
Trek ones?
Trek, because I
Okay.
personally I like them, and that's what kind of got me into Star Trek a little bit. Still not a hardcore Star Trek fan, but that got me into it a little bit.
I do like his Star Trek films, and I will be honest, every time I watch the first one that he did, with James T. Kirk and his dad dying, not meaning to spoil anything here, spoiler alert.
It's in like the beginning, so I don't
Yeah,
think
it's
it's
at
a
the beginning.
spoiler.
So if you are a Star Trek fan and you haven't seen that, you're not a real Star Trek fan. But
Right.
so when his dad dies at the beginning, and that's actually Thor, the actor,
Thor, yeah.
Chris
Chris
Hemsworth,
Hemsworth.
the actor playing his dad. But anyhow, when he dies at the beginning, I still tear up at that scene. Like, okay, look, just talking about emotional things here for a minute. When I watch Home Alone, I still tear up. So when he's in his bedroom at the end of that movie and he's
Mhm.
looking out and the neighbor that he thinks is the murderer waves at
Oh
him with the
yeah.
shovel and that music is playing, dude, I still get teared up. Like it's one of those like just beautiful pieces of filmmaking
Hmm.
when Macaulay Culkin's home alone and he thinks that he's literally his family's gone forever towards the end of the movie, and then his family comes in and all. Just I mean, beautiful filmmaking there. I think John Hughes directed that, didn't he?
Chris Columbus did, but it was a John Hughes production. I want to say John Hughes actually wrote
Okay.
it. He wrote it, but he didn't direct it. He gave it to Chris Columbus to do
Okay,
it.
because I've always seen on the cover it says John Hughes, and maybe I just didn't pay attention close enough.
Yeah,
So Chris
that,
Columbus,
he
but
produced
John
it
Hughes,
also. Yeah, he
yeah,
produced it, and because John Hughes was such a big name already, they put his like for advertising. It's a John Hughes, production or film
yeah.
or whatever. But actually Chris Columbus directed it.
Beautiful film. And then back to
Hmm.
your J.J. Abrams question, though. Yes, I do like the J.J. Abrams Star Treks. And I think he actually, and you might not like this because I did see that you have the new Star Wars films sitting right in front of you.
Yeah.
I actually think he did a better job with Star Trek as a franchise than he
uh,
did with Star
I
Wars.
agree. I agree. I enjoy. If I had to choose right now, hey, do you want to watch Star Trek, the J.J. Abrams, or the newer Star Wars movies? I'm probably gonna go with Star Trek, even though I
Yeah.
like Star Wars. But I think the only one that I really enjoyed out of the new ones was The Force Awakens.
Yep. Me
But
too.
I prefer way more the Star Trek, which was, and then I don't know. Do you remember that trailer? They used that for Star Trek, the first one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still watch it to this day because the music is epic. It's the song called Freedom Fighters. It's
Yep.
like da na na, and it's so epic. I love it so much. It's so good. I love it. But yeah, I still get chills watching the trailer to that. And they
Yeah.
had so many good actors in that. Like they had Eric Bana, they had
Leonard
Zach.
Nimoy.
Oh yeah, Zachary
They
Quinto.
tied it so well
Yeah.
into like that it was time travel. And now a little bit of tidbit. If you want to really love that first film, there's a graphic novel that ties in what happened right before that ship comes through that wormhole. And it ties in perfectly. It was written by J.J. Abrams, Alex Kurtzman, and a bunch of the other writers of the movie. They wrote it as a graphic novel. So I like graphic novels because
Mhm.
as an artist, I've always had an attachment to that from my years back on that. And we had talked about that before, me being an artist and doing that before. But
Mhm.
the graphic novel is great. And I think it's 4-part graphic novel, and it doesn't cost very much. But if you really want to enjoy it, it ties it to Next Generation that they'd actually intended originally to have. They had filmed scenes with Patrick Stewart, Captain
Wow.
Picard, and Data, and that it was tied to that they had actually been the cause of what caused that temporal rift to appear. And
Wow.
yeah,
Now, see, I feel like I have to go back and watch Next Gen and even the original Star Trek. Whew. Yeah,
yep.
that should be fun. That should be. That's
Well, and
gonna take me a long time though. But,
Picard now picks up after all of that. And I haven't started watching it yet. I just got it yesterday. And so that's what I'm excited about. And then, so once you finish the movies, so let me ask you this. Of the Next Generation movies, now, have you seen all of them?
no, see, so I've never actually, other than the newer Star Trek films, I've never seen any of other Star Trek films.
Okay.
I know that's
So,
blasphemy.
you've offended me. I'm going to leave now. This interview is over. No. So, the Next Generation films I like, of them, my favorite by far is First Contact. And again, it's a personal memory for why, but I am telling you, when that one hits you, once you've gone through and watched, like, even if you're not going to watch all of Next Generation, just go and watch all of the Borg episodes. They have like a Blu-ray collection of all of the Picard Borg episodes that are tied to Next Generation. Borg are like my favorite villain of all time in Star Trek. Like I love them. You know, we're going to assimilate you. I mean, it's just so great. But just go watch those episodes. Then go in and watch the Next Generation movies. Start with obviously Generations and just watch them in order. By the time you get to First Contact, like, I still remember in theaters, my dad, when I was older, and him and I went to see it, and I don't know how old I would have been at that time, maybe 18, 19 by the time that came out. I mean, I was older. And we went to see that. I actually remember both of us, like my dad's not really an emotional person or anything, but he was actually like, yeah, like there's a scene in it where like Picard actually like yells and like gets angry. And if you know Picard's character throughout the series, he never like showed much emotion. And in that movie he does. And he says something, and then Worf like says it back, like basically like they're not cussing, but something like kind of like I don't know. Basically, they're like at the Borg. It's just great. So anyhow, that movie, by the time you get to it, you're gonna love. I mean, it is great. So that one I would suggest go through, watch just even the Borg episodes of Next Generation, and then go through the Next Generation movies to get the First Contact. And then I said that movie's great. You'll love it.
Wow. No, yeah, and that's one thing I've been wanting to get into is Star Trek, but I never. It's intimidating because there's so many different ones, and so that's why I never got into them. I was like, oh no, if I start, I'm gonna have to start from the very beginning probably. So I don't know.
I say start with the Next Generation just because that's what I grew up falling in love with. I do love the original James T. Kirk, the TV show, but I just felt like the Borg and Picard was more like, I don't know, more personal. So if I were to start somewhere, I'd say go look up the Borg episodes, or they have it on a Blu-ray, just the Borg episodes or whatever. Buy that to start with if you don't want to buy the whole series. Watch that and then go into the movies. And that gives you a whole universe to start with, because then once you go through the Next Generation movies, then you can start on Picard, and then you have somewhere to start. My Star Trek, and I've talked about this before, that I least like is Discovery. I would not suggest to start there. A lot of people might dislike that, and they might give me a thumbs down saying, hey, I love Discovery. I don't, and it kind of goes to the fact of that Picard and not even Picard, but Gene Roddenberry, like we talked about Gene Roddenberry, he created Star Trek for hope and the joy of the human spirit. I've talked about this before, but basically it's supposed to be the goodness of each of us and the kindness of each of us. And Discovery is the one Star Trek series that I can honestly say, and there's lots of people out there that talk about it in forums, that it is the one series that I kind of feel like is a depressing Star Trek series. It's not.
It goes away from the original intent.
Yeah, it's not a. There's not much happiness in it. I mean, it's dark. A lot of it's just sad things constantly happening, one thing after the other, or people are always crying, and maybe that offends you, or somebody watching this, but literally, if you go back and watch, you're not going to be able to unsee it. Almost every episode, somebody's crying, like literally crying for like 10 minutes, not 10 minutes, but 5 minutes of the episode. It's like, you're thinking to yourself, man, they cry a lot in this show.
Wow. No, that's crazy. So I got to ask, have you ever double dipped, or have you ever bought a movie thinking, do I have this? I'm not sure. Do I not have this? Because that's happened to me one time. And I think it's just, I don't even remember, but it's because I had bought it and I just never put it away. And I was like, and I had to second guess myself. I was like, do I have this? So what I had to do is like, okay, I remember if I did, I more than likely put it in a video. So in the store, I'm watching a video of mine that I'm like looking at all the movies I bought. It's like, oh no, yeah, I do have that. I don't know. I was like, that. I mean, it's gotten out of hand to that point where, because I usually know what I have and what I don't, but there has been the occasional where I'm like, wait, do I have that? I don't remember. That recently happened to me last week because I went to FYE and I was looking for I was just like walking around, just seeing what they had.
Browsing.
Yeah, and I was like, wait, I have this, right? And I don't remember if I do. I know I had it on DVD, but did I ever pick it up on Blu-ray? And I left it at the store because I was like, no, yeah, I have it. It's like $30, so I'm not gonna want to spend that kind of money just for one movie, and then I get home and I have it and have to go back and pick and take. Yeah. So it turns out I didn't have it, and I left it at the store. So I might have to go back this week or something to pick it up. Hopefully it's still there.
So I've done that, but I'll caveat it with this. Most of it was because, so after the car accident 2.5 years ago, or almost 3 years ago, because I hit my head so hard, it caused, for a while, I had real hard time like thinking normally. Like I had memory loss, and I would say something, I wouldn't remember I said it, and then I'd say it again. Or there was a lot of problems when you hit your head 65 miles an hour. You have a lot of I had swelling in the brain, things like that. So what happened was there was a lot of time I tried, or I thought I was normal. Like it's a weird thing. Like your mind, because of the swelling, you don't kind of know the difference sometimes. So I was kind of one of these things. I didn't know that I had already bought something, and so my wife had taken me to the store because I wasn't driving, obviously, and things like that. I couldn't drive, and so yeah, we'd gone to the store, and I picked out a bunch of movies that I was going to watch because I was laid up because I could barely move, and tons of different things were going on with my body. So I went and bought a bunch of movies, got home, and she comes out, she's like, you already bought these. And I was like, when? She's like, well, I took you to the store a couple of days ago. And I was like, no, I didn't. She brings me a bag that I never even opened that had a bunch of movies in it. And then it ended up that I went and did the same thing a week later, and I was like arguing with her about that I did not have these movies. What are you talking about? But I couldn't remember that I kept buying these movies. So I ended up having, and I think I actually kept them all, so I have like 3 copies of like 4 different movies that I never returned, because by the time I actually got around to where I was able to drive to the store again, and that I was like mentally okay to understand what was going on, that I'd done this, it was past the return period, so I just kept them all. So
wow. So I guess that answers my question of, have you ever double dipped? Also,
I triple dipped. Triple dipped within a month.
But have you ever done it on purpose? Like, I like this edition and I like this edition, and I want them both, but I did that with The Godfather. I have.
Okay.
I mean, it's embarrassing to say how many copies of that. I even have it on Laserdisc. I have the the Godfather. I forgot what it's called. But it's
Is it your Martin edition
no,
or
no, no, no. On laser,
Omerta?
on laser. Well, I do. I have that box set
Okay.
on Blu-ray, but on Laserdisc, what they did is they rearranged the entire the saga. That's what it's called, the Godfather saga, and they cut 1 and 2 up, and they play it chronologically.
Okay.
And I've never got to see that version because I don't have a laser disc, but I love the set that I have. It's numbered and everything. It's a really nice laser disc set, but I've always wanted to see that version uh, play out because it starts off with Godfather 2 in the old, like the Robert De Niro young
Right.
Vito part, and then it gradually goes through to Godfather 1 and then goes back to Godfather 2 and then part 3.
Huh.
Yeah, I forgot what it's called, but I have that version of it. And then I have all the different box sets that came out. Except for one, I was like, no, they're just repackaging at this point. There's no new special fee. And I told myself I wasn't gonna get the Omerta edition because it's such a nice box though. I remember seeing it and I told myself I'm not gonna get that. And I was like, wait, but this is really nice. I kind of like it. It looks like a book. And I ended up getting it. And there's nothing new in there. Nothing. If you already own them, do not bother getting that because all it is like you get a post, like a couple of different postcards that are different, and I guess that's it. And I was
Yeah.
really upset. I was really upset because
Now
I told myself that's why.
I thought they were going to release the Godfather, Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone on 4K. They had originally talked about it when they talked about it, and now it's just on Blu-ray, which
Blu-ray.
I still have pre-ordered. But
Yeah.
I was kind of disappointed that they didn't do a complete Godfather 4K collection with The Death of Michael Corleone. Because I feel like I would have double dipped for that and gotten that set. I'm kind of disappointed that it's. I'm glad it's Blu-ray, but
Right.
I still wish it was 4K.
When they first got released on Blu-ray, there's a special feature on there where they remastered all of them in 4K, and going back, and they talk about how the remastering, because that's something you never get to see on any physical media, where like they go through the process of taking the old film and they color correct and they match color to what the original stock looked like. So there's a cool special features on there where they kind of go through that, and everything was remastered in 4K and then released in 1080p, which is fine. But yeah, you're right. I wish we could get a 4K version of those films. I'm sure they're gonna release them like 5 times, but yeah.
Now, a downside of 4K, since we're chatting about 4K for a minute, and this is something I've run into that has disappointed me about 4K. And in early Blu-ray, when Blu-ray first came out, there was several titles that were released that had issues because it was a new technology, and if you watch them now, they're not that much of an upgrade over what DVD was at the time.
Right.
There are some titles with 4K that I felt have been that way in the sense of I actually don't like the 4K more than I liked the Blu-ray. And one of those specifically, I've been asked about it a couple of times recently because I've been talking about Superman the movie. Mm-hmm. So they just released Superman the movie on 4K. I did not buy that after I actually went through and got to see a comparison between the screenshots of the extended edition that Warner Archive released and the 4K. And I actually thought the 4K edition of Superman looks horrible. And maybe other people like it, but the color grading in it is horrible. And they made Superman's suit look like dark gray and green, and it's not blue and bright red.
I've seen some of those comparisons that you're talking about, and you're right. So the one thing that for me, and I'm not 100% sure on how actual filmmakers and cinematographers feel about it, because HDR, it gives you all these colors and everything pops, but I don't know if those are ever the intentions of some of the filmmakers. Like, well, no, I want it to be dark right there. I don't want
Right.
it to be highlighted. There's a reason we shot it this way. And yeah, and then when they go back and they do restorations that way, sometimes they just look terrible.
Yeah.
Um, I just
That one I was
watched.
disappointed in.
Yeah, I just watched yesterday. I don't know how you feel about this film because it's very graphic, but it's actually one of my favorite on a technical term, on a technical aspect of it.
Okay.
Requiem for a Dream. Uh, they released the 4K of that recently, and I picked it up. So I watched it last night, and so because that movie was shot on 16 millimeter. I mean, you can only get so much quality out of 16 millimeter, you know.
Right.
So I didn't feel like it looked any better than the Blu-ray. I got to go back and kind of rewatch it, but um, I was a little bit disappointed with it. You know, like there's nothing new added. It was just a price increase, and hey, here's this movie. You probably already have it, but there's 4K now, and
Yep.
it looks almost as good as the original 1080p one. But I don't know.
Yeah, and
There,
that's
there,
where we talk about double dipping sometimes is companies and studios might not really upgrade that much on it when they do from a Blu-ray to 4K. And that's why some people say, well, don't you want all these TV sets that I talk about on my channel as things? Don't I want those on 4K? If they remaster it correctly on Blu-ray, then I don't have to necessarily have it on 4K. I mean, for example, just this one I just got in. This is the Wonder Woman Complete Series
oh,
Remastered Collection on Blu-ray. And everybody was complaining because they said, well, why wasn't this released on 4K? And I'm going to be doing a review on my channel in Search of Physical Media for this. But I actually, on some of these shows, think that Blu-ray is about the best I would want some of these in. And the reason why is some of these older shows, like, you know, I've done the Incredible Hulk on the channel and talked about that.
mhm.
Some of those older shows, if it gets beyond Blu-ray, like let's say that 4K adds an extra 30% detail to somebody's skin. The problem is Blu-ray is right at the limit where you can start to slightly see people's makeup, like if they have a face mask on or like the Hulk has his fake eyebrows. You're fine watching it on your TV because you can see it, but it's not standing out so much that if then it goes to 4K and they change the color degrading and add extra shadows around things because of HDR, his makeup might stick out even more, and then it takes away from the show. So that's where I feel like on at least some old stuff, old TV shows, old movies that have special effects and things like that, I don't know that I would want past Blu-ray them to upgrade some of these shows like superhero shows or special effects shows to 4K because then I feel like it's going to stand out even more. I mean, the latest one that I just heard about, which I'm going to do a review on that we're both been talking about, that Back to the Future.
Right.
I did hear from another channel that actually I've talked with before. They got their copy. I haven't gotten mine yet. And he was watching it, and they said the special effects in certain scenes look worse than the Blu-ray, which I'm a little disappointed about. I'll have to see it myself. But he said that the original director wouldn't allow them to digitally go in and take the matte painting. So, like, there's images of, like, cars where they're matte paintings that just move. And they wouldn't let them digitally take the line of the matte painting out so it doesn't look like it's just literally like a picture sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
And so with 4K, they said over the Blu-ray, it drastically stands out. And that's where I feel like if you're not willing to edit the original content or fix some of your special effects before you release it on 4K, I don't know that you technically should release it on 4K then. Because according to what I've been talking to them about like the Back to the Future set, is they said it actually takes you out of the film and doesn't seem real at all. And so I'm curious how that looks, because if that is the case, I'll be a little disappointed that, you know, the original director did not allow them to go in and edit it, because, I mean, the 4K isn't an upgrade, then it actually technically would look worse to me.
Mm-hmm. So how do you feel about how do you feel about the whole Star Wars never getting to see the original cuts even in 1080 in HD?
So I've been asked that before, and I've thought about that in my mind sometimes. Because, okay, so you already know I don't really prefer the new trilogy. I actually
Right.
thought the last Jedi. Was that the second one of the new trilogy
The
that was done by
yes,
Colin
Trevorrow.
Trevorrow?
Yeah,
I hated that movie.
I didn't
I
hate it, but I
absolutely
didn't
hated it.
love it at all.
Oh, and I'll explain why. So I grew up loving Luke Skywalker. So
Mhm.
he was the coolest. Like, I love Star Trek. They have a Luke Skywalker. I had all the Luke Skywalker action figures. Him with his green lightsaber and his black outfit. And I mean, he was the shiznit. I mean, he was cool.
Yeah.
And I remember I always thought Luke Skywalker was so cool. They actually made, with the new trilogy, Luke Skywalker a wuss. Not only a wuss, but they made him a weakling that basically went off and hid in
almost
some
a coward.
area. Yeah,
Yeah.
hiding in some bunker on some random island drinking nasty blue milk that, like, he was a wuss. And then he didn't even fight in the end. It was his aura.
Uh-huh.
And it's so disappointing. I mean, especially after you watch the original trilogy and what he started off as is nothing, basically, a farm boy, to coming up to being fighting the Emperor and saving his father. I mean, just such a great trilogy and storyline there. To then they just destroyed him to where I actually act like they don't exist because I hated what they did with Luke Skywalker, because it was a waste. They wasted the chance they had, just like what they did with Han Solo. I mean, come on. Did you really like what they did with Han Solo?
No, I didn't like the way he I didn't really like his portrayal in the new film either, actually.
Nope.
At all.
They made him a loser dad that left his wife and kids to go back in the Millennium Falcon, which was not, like, that never happened in the book trilogies, which were way better than anything they did in the movies. And then his own son kills him, and just oh man, it was a complete train wreck in my opinion. But the original trilogy, I do love the original way they were filmed, but I did like the special effects, how they fixed certain things in them. So it's a twisted thing, because again, there's another example of when they brought it to HD and did the Blu-ray, and he added special effects and fixed a lot of things in it. I actually really liked what he fixed. Like with the lightsabers, they didn't look like glowing poles anymore. They actually looked like lightsabers.
I remember in the first one, it's like very. That's all you just see the pole, and then it's even like off center a little bit. You can so you could see the pole,
and you could see when the pole would come out of the glow.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was just like lightly tinged colors, white with like lightly tinged.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think personally, I prefer the newer cuts of the films, but what I don't like about some of the special effects that they did is, I remember in the original trilogy there is a Wolfman at the cantina, and they totally changed him to a weird looking alien, which is cool, but I kind of like some of those little things. The whole Han shot first controversy, that whole thing. I mean, to be honest, I'll be honest, I don't really care. The way they are right now, released, I'm fine with that. But I would be interested in seeing the original cuts just to see them. But I don't know. There's a lot of like diehard people out there that like love the original cuts.
Yeah, and it's a hard thing, and that's where TV shows come into play too, because there's some TV shows that have been remastered in like Germany that I've talked about, like $6 Million Man. It's one of those that's on my channel. The hard thing about it is they've been editing in certain countries, like Germany edits down certain TV shows. They'll take like 30 seconds out of every episode, or they'll take 5 seconds out of an episode. It depends on what the series is. And like $6 Million Man was one of those that they edited out in Germany when there's like, let's say that the show is 35 minutes long. They'll take out sometimes like 30 seconds to a minute throughout the whole episode, just little snippets of things. And it's not horrible, but I would prefer them to have left it unedited. And that is something that I have run into with a lot of shows that are being released. Music-wise, things like that, there's a lot of shows that have come out that I haven't reviewed because they'll take and change the original music on them.
One of the most notorious ones was The Wonder Years.
Yes.
I love that show.
They did release a DVD set of the Wonder Years with the original music, but it was extremely expensive. I actually do have that set. That's one of my DVD sets I have. But it was extremely expensive for the complete original, and I think it was done by A&E, where they actually went and left all the original music in, but it was expensive, and then it went out of print. And like I've had people say, like, where do you find them? And I don't even know that A&E even produces them anymore.
Yeah. No, yeah, there's a lot of those sets. Also, like I don't know if you remember the real Ghostbusters, the animated. I remember I think it's Lifetime or something, or yeah, Lifetime released the house, like the whole fire station. Time Life.
Yeah, Time Life.
Yep. Yeah, Time Life. They released that set, and that set goes for close to $1,000 probably.
Okay, so I'm going to share something that I was going to do a review on my channel later on, but if you love that series, it has been released on partially remastered Blu-ray, just to let you know.
Oh, Blu-ray?
Yeah.
I have the DVDs,
I know. So
what? I
told you about collecting things from all over the world.
Oh, wow. I did not know this.
Yeah. So have you heard of a show called Invader Zim?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like Nickelodeon and older like TV shows from like the 90s and things like that have been released. And when I say partially remastered on Blu-ray, they're slightly upgraded over what you would have over a DVD, but they're on Blu-ray disc, so the bit rate's higher, the colors are better. And those have been released in other countries. And so I do have several of those sets as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You do have to make
Ghostbusters is one of them.
You do have to make a video. Yeah, you're going to have to make that video because I definitely want to see that. I want to see that for sure. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's where I talk about it's a weird thing because they don't – you think these are all American shows. Why aren't they coming out in the U.S.? And it's digital's killing us here. I mean, it's like, you know, The Mandalorian, you know, that Disney Plus show that's out there. I obviously don't support digital and things like that, but I have heard it is like the original Star Wars. It's an amazing show, things like that. You know, just release it on Blu-ray so that way people can buy it and own it and watch it. Like I don't want to pay $35 a month for a service that I never own anything and that you can take away the content and charge me more whenever you want.
Right.
Put it out so we can buy this stuff.
So that's I think that's what Disney's doing is they're really killing the Blu-ray and the physical media aspect of because it's a business move. I mean, all they really want is for people to spend the money to pay for this digital stuff that you physically can't even touch, which is why I don't like about physical. About digital, but the convenience factor is different. Yeah, it's easy for you to just pop in and scroll and you're watching a movie, but the fact that I can own it in my hands, have it physically, have a booklet inside, or have a little collectible or something about the movie that isn't going to be online. It's not going to be in a video. It's tangible. Yep. That's what I love about physical media. And yeah, I had gotten away from that, but I think maybe starting last year I started collecting again a lot more because I was very picky about what I got. But now I'm kind of getting in the swing of just picking up more and more stuff again. And that I love. Like there's a couple of movies that I got that are from Arrow Video. There's a RoboCop, which I love RoboCop, but I bought that Blu-ray set that had all the movies in it, the trilogy.
Yep, I have that one. Yep.
But this set is so nice that I'm probably gonna have to keep both sets because this is just the one movie, but it's so nice. So I'm gonna get it really quick. Okay, there you go. There you go. See, so this is such a nice set right here. Like it's got a booklet, it's got the movie, and then it's got a poster inside. So nothing beats that.
I think Arrow Films does a great job with their sets because I just recently bought 2 of their 4K releases. The Pitch Black, which I love that movie, and
Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon.
I knew it.
And the Pitch Black set has a very nice booklet in it. I really like that one. Again, I have so many ideas of things I want to do for videos. The problem is I only have so much time, and I try to get these out as fast as I can. But as you know, because I'm a perfectionist, I try to make sure that every video looks as good as possible before I release it. But that's the downside of being that way is it takes me longer to release each video and to do them. But I did like those sets. I think Arrow did a great job on that. I hope they do more because, they're a UK developer, that's where they're coming from. And then basically they're releasing them slowly in the US. They've had a lot more titles over in the UK than we've had.
Oh, yeah. And those are the ones that are taking the time. Well, Criterion, Arrow, sometimes Screen Factory, but they're the ones that are actually taking the time to remaster some of these films in 4K or just remaster them and putting the special features on there. But yeah, some of the studios aren't doing that anymore. They're just like, oh, just release it, bare bones. That's really frustrating sometimes too.
But I'll take at least if the movie gets released on Blu-ray, at least we get it then. I'll take that all day. Yeah. There's a lot of movies that I'm still amazed have never come out on Blu-ray. The director you had on here recently did a movie called Last Castle.
The Last Castle. Yeah.
And I love that movie. It's one of my favorite Robert Redford movies. Mm-hmm. And that movie only exists on DVD, and it's been out of print for years. And it's hard to find. It's nowhere to be found. That movie was a good movie. It actually made good money, too. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why that has not been put on Blu-ray.
I wonder who the studio was, because
it was DreamWorks. DreamWorks was the one that released it.
Okay, because I know that I did a podcast recently about a film called Blood In, Blood Out. Now, culturally, that's an important film for Hispanics because it was mostly Hispanic cast. It's got like a mythology and a lore to it. You can kind of compare the film to the film American Me, but I think Blood In, Blood Out's a lot more epic, in just character arcs. It's like 3 hours long, but it's really good. It's only been released on DVD. It's released by Hollywood Pictures, which is a company of the Disney company. So it's never gonna get released on Blu-ray. It's never gonna get released digitally either. Which it's not available digitally. It's not available on Blu-ray. Only if you have either the VHS or the DVD. That's the only way you can watch it. And I think that's sad. I mean, I'm hoping that companies like Arrow or Screen Factory pick up titles like that if they're willing to, because Disney doesn't like to lend out any of their stuff. But they just recently released Apocalypto because they owned that movie. It was made by Touchstone, which is another one of their companies.
Disney's.
And they recently released that and let that get released again on physical media.
Now, I wish Disney would allow other studios to do that more because, we were just talking a little while ago about Flight of the Navigator.
Oh, I love it.
There's a lot of 90s Disney movies that were not kids' movies. They were like just good family movies, but that even today hold up really well. Mm-hmm. That basically some random studio that I found in another country released it on Blu-ray for a limited time, and that was it. And it's kind of one of those things that you wish that Disney would allow companies to go in there because, and maybe this movie's not amazing to a lot of people, but I like the old Sean Connery, The Rock, and it's not super old, but
it's a Michael Bay film.
And I don't know, how old is that movie? Am I just old?
That came out in 97, I think. I think Michael Bay's first film.
Maybe I don't remember if it was, but I do remember going to see it in theaters with my friends. I was older at that time because I think it was rated R at that time, so you had to be 18 or 19 at the time to go to it. And I remember going to see that, and man, I loved that movie. It was so good, and even today it holds up great. I mean, it's just a great action film. It wasn't overblown like a lot of Michael Bay stuff is nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that film, but I don't know that we're ever going to see that released on 4K. And I think it would be a huge upgrade. That, like Pearl Harbor, I like that.
Oh, that's a great. I mean, the story isn't the greatest, but the action scenes. I mean, the attack alone. I think it's like an hour long.
Story is great too, though.
I think it's like an hour long, but that movie I think would look amazing on 4K.
Oh,
incredible!
It would look, and you got to remember, like, so The Rock and like Con Air and Armageddon and Pearl Harbor, those movies were one of the first Blu-rays that Disney released. So the technology, like when I go back and watch them, they're okay, but they're not anywhere near like some of these Blu-rays now are made. So think of the upgrade from those. That's where I talk about like back at the first of technology. Yeah. Think of the upgrade 4K would do on those action, like an explosion of fire coming at you with the HDR. It'd look amazing.
Yeah, no, those are the films that I can only wish would come out. But because they're owned by Disney, I don't have any hope for them anymore.
I don't either.
And that's sad. I mean, you're right. I mean, the one thing about... Because I own Flight of the Navigator, but I have it on DVD. I didn't even know it was released on Blu-ray. Was it released on Blu-ray overseas, or was that here?
Let me grab it. Hold on. Wheel myself back over here. All right, so it's Blu-ray.
I love that movie so much.
It was not obviously released in America.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, maybe I'll do a review on this too sometime because a lot of people from, you know, my era and then your era remember this. I think it was released in 1986 was when this movie says it came out in theaters, is what it says on the back.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Flight of the Navigator, and it was a limited print. It was a UK release, it says, and that was it. And now you can't find it, and I don't even know. I have to look and see if it's even available anymore, and maybe update the channel and say, hey, if it is or isn't. But for a long time, I couldn't find it anymore. But this is the only copy that I've seen of it. Wow. But the Blu-ray upgrade's not bad. It's not, it's not a huge upgrade because they did only a partial remaster, so they did it mostly digital. So it does look good, but it's not like master quality that you're going to have. But yeah, so Flight of the Navigator, that is one of those that, like I said, I don't know why it's not out there. There's so many of those types of films that would have been great for them to do.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, there's so many. I think we could probably talk for hours and hours about different aspects of different collecting and just different movies. But I'm so happy that you were able to take the time and come on and have a little conversation with me. Because I had a short list of questions. It turned into an amazing discussion. I would love to do this again if you're up for it, for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely do this again. Maybe we'll end up making this like a part series. Like every once in a while, we kind of come back and chat together and like, this is part one. Yeah. And maybe we'll label it that way and say, hey, this is part one. And then as time goes on, you know, we'll catch up with each other and do these again as time goes on. And that way people have connection to both. And lost you there for a minute. Disconnected for a second. Are you back?
Yes, I see you.
Okay. So yeah, maybe we'll continue doing that. But anybody that's watching, please make sure to subscribe to both In Search of Physical Media and then Stache 5 as well. Make sure to like these videos and give us comments below. We like to hear if you guys like hearing what we have to say about this stuff, if you like hearing the content we share, and please make sure to send us comments, messages. We love to hear from you guys. Always make sure to like these videos and definitely subscribe. And then you can always follow us on, like, there's the Instagram and the Facebook that are posted below as well. But we appreciate all of your time today. And I had a great time, and I hope you had a great time, the viewers. And,
of course, yeah. I mean, thank you so much for coming on and dropping some knowledge, man. I mean, I did not know some of the stuff that you were, like some of the releases overseas. And so I love, and if you want to know more about that kind of stuff, of course, you can always go back to his channel and check out more stuff where he'll highlight certain sets and that have been released here and over there, or what are the differences. Because, I mean, it's crazy. You have so much knowledge about a lot of this stuff. It's almost it's crazy. It's almost like you're looking up the stuff as we're talking about it, but it's all in your
No.
head. It's crazy. Which
Yep.
is what I love, because I love talking to people about movies and just movies in general, but collecting, because I've been collecting for a long time as well. I think since I was about 15, and
Yeah.
I think, I think you've been collecting a lot longer, which is
Yeah. Well, and
insane.
if somebody's wondering this, because I have been asked this, do I sit and look up all this stuff and then sit there and have a list of it? So most of the stuff and the knowledge I have is from when I get a movie, I kind of look up the history of it originally and things. So over the years, I've just collected a massive amount of data in my head, basically, of all these different movies and directors. So a lot of it I don't have to look up. The only things that I usually look up when I'm doing a video or things like that is if I don't quite know basically if there was a hidden actor or something in it. But most of the stuff is stuff that I just learned over the years of doing it. And so I try to add little stories into it. Some people might like it, some people might not. They might say, just
Oh
get to the review.
no,
But
I love, personally, I love it. I love learning more about different aspects of collecting, and so that's what I think you definitely bring to the table, is so much knowledge on different aspects of collecting and different editions and the history of. I love it. I think you should do like a series called The History of, and then talk about, you could talk about a certain series or something like that. I think that'd be really fun.
yeah, and one thing I do want to add, because this is a question a lot of people have, is they see the videos that I have on there and they think, well, these are releases from other countries that I can't get in America. And I will tell you, if you start watching a lot of these, I go through and explain if they're region free, which means you can play them in a US Blu-ray player with nothing that you have to do special, and it'll just play normal, or whether you have to have a special Blu-ray player. And there's a lot of these titles that I'm going through that are region free, which means you don't have to do anything special. And so people get turned off at first. They're like, well, I guess I'm not going to watch it because I don't think I can play that. That's
Hmm.
not the case. A lot of these are being released region free, which means even if you buy them, and I put the links down below in the descriptions of the videos where you can buy them, but you can buy them, and a lot of them we're going to play, and I'll tell you in each video if it will. And you can collect them, and guess what? You can watch it with your family right now without having to buy something extra. And that's where a
Right.
lot of people don't get, because they think, oh, it looks like it's got a title from France or Germany. But when you look at it, once you watch the video, I explain that. And that's something I tell everybody, go on there and watch them, because you'll find out a lot of these you can own yourself and actually watch them on the Blu-ray players you already own. And that's kind of the purpose of the channel, is to give you information that maybe you don't already know.
Well, that's great. And so, listed below are all where people can find you on Instagram and Facebook. And of course, please subscribe to his channel. His channel is amazing. I mean, you think I used to make long videos? He makes videos that are as long as movies, and I love it because they're so detailed, and I think it's great, everything that you have, all the information that you have on there. So
I
I just
appreciate
want
it.
to thank everybody for watching and
Thank you.
subscribing. And thank you to James for coming on the show, and hopefully we'll make more of these, because I had a lot of fun doing this. To me, this was really fun. To me,
It was.
having
It
a
was a fun
discussion.
day. I think it went a little longer than we thought, but
Oh yeah.
it ended up being a lot. We had a lot more to cover, and we'll have more of these going forward. Because I said, I think maybe it'd be a good thing every once in a while we do an update and kind of do parts as they go along. So that way, it's kind of like a chat, and people can ask us questions. And maybe that's something. If you guys want to ask questions, then next time we do an update, we'll try to answer those questions you guys ask in the video as well. Then.
Definitely. And so, with that, I just want to say thank you, and subscribe. Click that little bell notification to let you know when I make a new video. And with that said, I want to say thank you and a goodbye. I know this is ranting. I never know how to end these. It's always really like, okay, thanks and bye, and all right, well, okay, bye.
Well, all of you have a blessed day, as I always say. I
All
hope
right, there
everybody
you
has a
go.
blessed day, and we get to do this again soon.
All right, okay, bye.